you find yourself trapped. You find yourself trapped, if only in social terms, by a lack of being able to prove yourself, by a lack of being able to demonstrably show others that you have something of worth to partake in, that they may participate in financially. Granted, that is the basis for your ideations of having a career in the art world or having some sort of existence or lifestyling within the art world. It is a question of validity. And that validity is not entirely a self-made concept. It is a reflection. It is something that you have to obtain through others. It's a collective endeavor, as it were. The proof is, simply put, just the lifestyle. It's just the ability to say to people that you can live as an artist and not have to have a regular job, not have to have regular concerns about things. That's what elevates you in sort of a psychological caste system that exists on this earth, that exists within our species, within our DNA. It's rooted. People give each other titles, give each other significance, give each other iconography associated with their symbolic powers. Very baseline stuff here that I'm talking about. This is 101. But as an artist, the demonstration of yourself is just the lifestyle. It's a certain arrogance. It's a certain loftiness. It's a distance that you put between yourself and the common tongue, the common way of thinking. You're an outsider. Even if you're not an outsider, you have to think about it this way as well. Most artists are fundamentally boring and normal people under the surface. They just have some sort of engine that cranks based on insecurities or pathologies or misery is a big one. These are engines for productivity, and a lot of the proof that you have as an artist is your output. Like not just a lot of your influence, but it's most of your influence. It's everything you can possibly do, in a material sense, is your presence. It's not just your physical presence in a gallery or in some sort of meeting where you're trying to arrange selling your pictures to a company to get a percentage for later use and things like that, because it's ephemeral anyways. They're only going to print your illustrations once or twice, and who cares? It's a paycheck. That's the sort of the job side of things. The proof itself. Proof. Proof is you. You are the proof. You are a reflection of the things that go on in your head. Your output is a reflection of these things. You don't necessarily have a control over it, and it's actually best to be seen as having no control over your output. It's best to be seen as pathologically artistic, because a pathologically artistic person has that much more of a mental separation from the consuming audience, from the viewer, from the consumer in general. And as an artist, you are yourself a consumer because you don't participate necessarily in the economy at large, aside from a place for people to park their money in exchange for some ethereal, ephemeral reward upon their character and affirmation of their psychology, build up of subcultures, that kind of thing. A good artist can prop up a subculture. You can have something that's terrible, but if someone extremely talented dares to go into it and offers their services as a billboard for aesthetics, you've suddenly granted authority to a mindset. It's a display, much like a lot of other things are displays. But you, as an artist, are at the center. You're the maelstrom of what a display for validity is. You can either completely tank the reputation of something by doing a cringy or a terrible job. You can prop something up involuntarily by just pursuing a hobby or a passion of yours. To say that, I really like this thing, I'm going to do some fan art. Whatever it is. If your fan art has some sort of depth to it, you'll get people interested in it from a different perspective than just the consuming audience who wants a poster on their wall, or a nice wallpaper, or phone case, or whatever it may be. I mean, good God, the consuming audience for art is I mean, dare I say, dead. Because you have to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars as institutions or as private collectors to shovel into pockets of a select few artists to put their money somewhere. It's Ponzi, Ultimately, it's sort of a Ponzi scheme of you pay me now so that this can be resold later for the same amount of money. The wealth transfers, etc., etc. This is why you have paintings selling for hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not because they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It's because people need that hundreds of millions of dollars to be there, and it gives a sacred status to things, the priceless aspect. When something enters the priceless territory, it's because there's a lot of products, a lot of financial services, and insurance packages, and the lifestyles of the academics that prop it up. Those are involved. It's not necessarily because the art itself is so valuable. It's because of its effect, because of the entire circuit that surrounds the art. It's because of the world around it. It's because of the mindset that chases whatever validity it's trying to affirm. To affirm the beliefs of some very rich and powerful people, they'll just sort of use you as a billboard for them, because ultimately you are reflecting, and in a broader sense, when things are deemed worthy, when things are deemed, oh, this is high art, this is of value, this has some sort of deeper significance for the zeitgeist or the ethos at large, consumerism. I want to make a commentary on things because I'm not satisfied with the way that the world has treated me in some way or another. A reflection. You have to reflect. But that's the business. I mean, we could talk about the true, deeper side of things when it comes to your own production, especially when it's involuntary, especially when it's arrogant, especially when it has to do with a certain confidence in a mindset that others might not necessarily prop up on their own. It's a self-made thing. You can strike gold as far as that goes, but that's a lottery. That's rolling on the fact that there would be an influential person who could pick you up. It's a begging routine. It always has been, unfortunately. Not even unfortunately. That's just the nature of things. You can't have a society that's just artists. What the fuck is that? A society of just artists? No. Who's gonna do the goddamn dishes? Not me. I've already put them off for 2 weeks. I'm waiting for the roommates to do it. And there's an argument. But imagine that for all the responsibilities of society. You're an artist because certain things are beneath you. You're an artist because certain things are inaccessible to you. And there's an inaccessibility to discipline. There's an inaccessibility to the gumption. That go-getterness and that extroverted nature of things that breeds a healthy work environment. I wish them the best to continue existing because, in essence, what constitutes the creative world parasitizes the non-creative. But that's also a natural order of things. The non-creative get the urge, I guess you could call it libidinal, where over a certain amount of time they will get the itch to consume the art, because the art is an affirmation of thoughts that maybe take them a good cycle of a few years to get through, to realize that, oh, there's deeper meaning to things, and this expresses things in such a, I mean, it really gets me, you know? Like, it's an itch that they scratch. It's also natural. Not something you can shame or put down or say, oh, you're just a plebeian who does not understand the finer elements of the artistic vision and the portrayal of iconography through representational art and symbolism. Gestalt. No. You have to live with yourself. You have to live with the art that you make. And the ignorance thereof, the ignorance of your place in things, is a bonus. It's a bonus that can backfire on you because you could become just some dude living in a trailer on someone else's property as their garden hermit or whatnot. Chances are you're not a despicable person if you're an artist. Chances are you're somewhat likable and affable and you have a vision of things that's peaceful. People want you around because you're not overly dominated by your emotions and won't just stare them straight in the eye as they talk to you and try to dominate the conversation. Granted, you might do that as well, but you're seen as harmless. And that's the image that you should try to cultivate. As an artist, you are not a tough guy. You can't be a tough guy because you're telling other people that you're an artist. And the artist dwells in the realm of the mind, in the realm of the guy stuck at home. Someone pursuing toughness, someone pursuing an extreme form of validity somehow socially to fit in a different realm than just being an artist. Um, well, it's kind of like the phenomenon of the writer who talks about writing but never writes. The guy who sits down with other writer guys in a cafe and, they start to brainstorm stuff about their characters and they talk about the characters in their novels as if they're real. Who gives a shit? And then it just comes down to their job as a writer being around other writers. And then if one of them strikes it, if one of them gets the motivation, the momentum to actually get something going, oh hey, yeah, I'm along for the ride. Don't worry, yeah, I'm a good creative director. I'm gonna go and middleman a bunch of freelancers for you. Don't worry, I've got this. You know, these are the chances that people chomp at the bit for when they get desperate enough, because the desperation also plays into it. The desperation has to do with your social position. You can lose track of what the vision truly is as you get older, because things get a lot more financial in nature. And it becomes a lot more about paying the bills and about your expectations of things rather than just having the life that you wanted to live when you were younger. Or having the life that you pictured in your head was possible given your knowledge of what the economy and the working world and the waking world was. I just want to be a guy on a farm who does romantic visions of country and life. And I seek to expand that mindset. I want people to return to nature. I want people to return to their thing, their this, their that. People are victims of their own desires. If they really wanted to go in the direction that you want to push people artistically or influence them or somehow manipulate them, they'd already be doing it. I suppose this is sort of a legitimization of a certain amount of bandwagon hopping. But that's really only in that desperate mindset wherein you're trying to pursue success in a realm that you've activated through different desires, through materialistic things. Well, I gotta make this payment. I gotta make 20 grand before the end of the year on my art. I gotta be able to prove to this gallery that I sold for 20 grand. I mean, holy shit, that's a big deal. Most galleries won't even talk to you unless you can sell for 1,000, and you have to be able to provide a proof of sale for 1,000, and you pay taxes, proof of sale for 1,000, etc. But in the real realm, the domain of the artist's life, where things dwell, where things stagnate and get miserable, you are just along for the ride in a lot of ways. You're along for the ride with your own impulses. You're along for the ride with. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. Go away. Get out of here. Why did I draw an eye? The wrong thing to do. You're along for the ride with your impulses. You're along for the ride with a lot of things that are beyond your control. The only thing that really is within your control is the psychology that you approach things with. Is the amount of things that manage to get beaten out of you growing up or coming into your adult life and trying to cope with the fact that you don't really have anything terribly marketable or in demand. People aren't beating down the doors of artists to like beg them for their art. And if they are, it's usually in the service of some smaller subculture or a thing wherein there is no representation for a mindset. So if you're looking to get any modicum of fame, if you have the drive to do so, you have the motivation that you would actually give a shit enough about impressing other people to get into a subculture, propping up emergent psychologies is the name of the game. Propping up things that are underrepresented, where you see people going out of their ways to commission others to portray something that society at large does not necessarily desire, does not necessarily need and whatnot, but trying to make it look cool. Because making things look cool is also kind of your job. You're kind of stuck trying to make things look cool when they're not. You're doing PR, you're doing marketing, but on a different level, on a sort of a level whereby intelligent people will be impressed. Because impressing dum-dums, you just take something pretty basic, sex, impressing people with displays that are designed towards sex or towards some sort of provability of their own DNA, ego stroking. Ego stroking is usually how things shape out for getting a wider audience. It has to be an egotistical theme that is relatable, an egotistical theme that is something that's just simple enough to grasp. Mental exercise, I think, for the art market at large, and not necessarily for niche art or subculture art or informative art, illustration, etc. Fine art, world of realm of concepts. And outside of that, I want you to imagine that the person you're talking to is they're fresh off of spending $5,000 on t-shirts. They're fresh off of looking at shoes online for 2 hours because a guy who fucks a lot on Instagram had this pair of shoes, and they're attempting to capture that clout. Extrapolative thinking applies here, whereby you take that mindset wherein someone seeks to ape and cargo cult the elements which make others successful and impressive and cool. That's where you come in. That is your job, is to represent others' psychology, no matter how dumb it is. If you can stomach this, that is. Yeah. Yeah, you're a whore. Sorry. That's the proof.